JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Monday, March 24th, 8:57 a.m. Talk quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P futures and markets gonna head into the green or open solidly in the green this morning. S&P futures up over a percent, nearly 1.2%. Nasdaq futures up 1.5%. This is after Friday's reversal, right? Markets open lower, tumbled. Look like this is it, right? We're going to start breaking maybe 552 or so, and then right at the noon hour, we started to find some support, and the market just melted higher with a late afternoon surge, pushing stocks into the green solidly, and the S&P ended its 4-week losing streak. Is this the start of a rebound and then a march back to all-time highs? I I think it's still too early to say. I think there's still a lot of uncertainty, right? I think that word is still there. But then over this weekend, you have, uh, I guess, and you kind of figured that some of this was going to happen. Uh, the tariffs coming on April 2nd are going to be more targeted, less less percentage amounts, and not cumulative. So it's just more ratcheting back some of that the rhetoric, right? And I think the market was kind of pricing in a worst case scenario. And I think as we get more, and I'm sure there's gonna be more compromises and things like that, and details coming out over the next couple of days, maybe that just puts a little wind in the sails for markets, at least short term. So first areas I'm watching, we came up in 200-day moving average was close last Monday. Then Wednesday and Thursday came close to breaking, couldn't break and hold. So it looks like that's a key, huge support resistance area. So when we get over that today, and we're gapping above that this morning, hold that. Maybe that sets up a move at least maybe to 582 or so on the SPY, and then kind of like a situation where reevaluate, right? There has to be some kind of impact, at least short term, in regards to earnings and things like that. So I think, again, that uncertainty word is still very important. Also, this week you have GDP. So the third update on GDP, I think the last revision comes out on Thursday, and then you have PC data on Friday. I really don't know how much PC data could really move markets, but certainly going to be something to watch. So that's kind of what I'm watching in regards to support resistance on the SPY. Well, I'm trying to think of the other things. There's still earnings this week too. I think Lululemon. I'll talk about GameStop in a second. Um, but all important stuff. But it's funny how it all works. You thought the market was ready to just if your market sentiment, everything going on, uh, you would think that we're in crash mode, and here it is. We're bouncing. I mean, I put a little meme on Friday. It's kind of like a joke, but it's like the market was up 20 something percent in 2023. 2025, we were up another 20%, and then the S&P is down 3% on the year. It stinks, right? You don't like seeing things in the red, but it's like everybody's like in panic. Nobody's panicking when we're up 20. And obviously a little different market environment, but hopefully market finds some footing and go from there. And then, that chart, I think it was last week I posted too, historically speaking, it's kind of like early March, end of February into March is kind of where the market sort of bottoms, at least short term. So all those things together, we'll see. But that's a big spot there. And then you start, you pull back that chart, and yeah, at the 200-day moving average, a big spot there on the SPY. So that's kind of overall markets too. And then, what's funny is like the US dollar has been destroyed so far this year. 4%. It was huge moves the last couple of weeks. And no one really talks about that as being a possible, actual good thing. You always, when the US dollar is strong, you always see, I was talking about the transcripts saying tariffs and, all these buzzwords that get into that they look for earnings transcripts to find what the trends are, right? And a lot of times over the years, when the dollar was stronger, they say, oh, US dollar strength weighing on earnings. So some of these companies that don't have Forex hedges or what have you, the strong US dollar usually is not a good thing for their earnings, right? They say, oh, it's hitting us 1% or whatever. US dollar's down 4% or whatever this year. So if the dollar's down 4%, you would think, wouldn't there be a net 4% increase on some companies' profits? So something to pay attention to when the Q1 earnings start to kick in. All right, so that's overall market. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Maybe find some footing here and chop around, and then 582 or so will be the next spot I kind of reevaluate. Not saying we're out of the woods by any means. So if we do reverse and then we start breaking support, I mean, we get down to 563 again today. I mean, I'd probably be getting some put hedges because then I think this is one of those shake and bake scenarios where it's like a bull trap, right? All right, so that's overall market. So individual names. GameStop, it's not a name I've traded in many, many years. I was looking at the earnings coming into this week, and then I was watching a stock Friday morning. It was starting to show some signs of breaking out. We ain't got some calls into this week. Figure is kind of like a premium build into earnings. They report tomorrow after the close. And then the stock did rally, but the premiums kind of like came out of the call. So they closed red. And then just the more I research, and I follow Ryan Cohen. A lot of it had to do with the Chewy situation because I was pretty bullish Chewy for a while. But he was a big stakeholder in GameStop, and obviously his investment, which he got at a severe discount, became a huge position that at a low cost, and he was able to work his way into the company. And now, you see him with Michael Saylor. He has in February. You look at his Twit feed or his X feed, talking about hiring for some coding positions and things like that, which I think is outside the core business of like a gaming retail company, right? And then there's just a lot of rumors of what they're going to do with their $4.6 billion in cash, right? So it's $11 billion company, $4.6 billion in cash, minimal debt. So if they just park that somewhere, they could get 250 million plus in interest payments. I think they get a lot in interest income already. So just as that as a function of their business, I mean, that's not a bad business. You divide those profits by quarter, right? 40 million a quarter. The thing is, it's an issue is the declining business. So it's $11 billion company. They do 5 billion in revenue, 4 billion in cash. So they have to do something. So I don't know if this is going to be the earnings report. Ryan Cohen also tweeted this last week. Here's our new investor relations site. So maybe this is on the cusp of a big announcement. You have to think it's probably some kind of treasury situation with crypto or some other kind of thing like that. I don't think they're going to go out and acquire a company. There was always rumors that maybe they would buy a stake in Chewy. I don't think that'll be the case. So doesn't mean I'm going to hold all the strikes into earnings tomorrow after the close, but I may look to close some of my calls out today if I can get out some for 100% to cover costs. I might look for some later dated strikes, and I think this could be one of those stories that he's able to figure out. Hey, this is how we can get growth back into the stock and return shareholder value, which obviously is the biggest component or one of the biggest components as a CEO of a company, right? He's return shareholder value. It doesn't mean he's going to do it as a company that sells video games and trade-ins and gets gaming systems. They've went to collectibles. They're trying other avenues. Maybe it's the NFTs. Who knows? But I just see an opportunity, and you look at their cash, and you have a smart first person who's done. I mean, he's went up against Amazon with Chewy. No one would have thought you can create an online pet business alongside the likes of some of these behemoths, and he did. So you have to say, hey, I mean, here's someone who's probably going to be able to do something else and be successful at it. It's just a matter of time, right? It's like a tick tock. This has been going on for at least a year now with the cash situation, the offerings, and they have they had brought on directors. They have an investment, I forget, advisory investment board or something that they have. And I don't know if they filed an 8K with that, but he had some other outside folks. So he doesn't just make these decisions on his own. But anyway, that's Tuesday after the close will be interesting. Hopefully I get the chance to lock some of my calls in to cover costs. 200-day moving average there, 25.12. It's over that here in the pre-market. Then you have the 50 days at 25.95. So it gets over 26 today. Who knows? All right, so that's GameStop. Then ROKU was rallying again on Friday. Almost looked like there was like M&A rumors like we've had back in the December timeframe. Rally got up to 78 and change by the 1 o'clock hour. Locked some of my calls in for over 100%, and it's gapping again here this morning over $80. You have Laura Martin from Needham reiterating her buy rating and $120 price target on ROKU. I'll probably lock some of my calls in at the open. I would assume they're going to be up a couple 100%, maybe 300-400%, and then I'll just ride the rest. If it finds if it continues to rally in the morning, doesn't give back the gains, I might look for some more strikes depending on the premiums because it's the name I think could trade. The 50-day on ROKU right now is 80.63, so it's going to break that here in the pre-market. So I think if that holds, then the trend is your friend. It's got bullish. I was talking about the bullish momentum indicator, like the reversal, the bullish crossovers, excuse me. That was all over the charts on Friday, and they continue to be. So again, even if this bounce is short-lived, there's going to be some nice moves to the upside. Speaking of which, is Restoration Hardware. I was trying to play that for a bounce Friday. I was watching all day, and then sure enough, I wound up getting some spec calls. Those didn't play out. I'll continue to look for opportunities on this one. You have to think if there's any kind of scale back on the tariffs, and some of these names have been just destroyed based on that premise. RH is one of those names. Maybe it trades back up 260, 270 in a very short period of time. So don't be surprised they had some strikes there. And then some other name, the Shopify, was trying to time those. It's trading up near almost hit 107 here in the pre-market. Another name, you look at its 50-day moving average, 109 and change. That one's been sold off. I think more of a play in negative on the Canada side, right? But I think that probably has been way oversold. So I think there's an opportunity on that one. Where's my other charts here? Uh, Intel, I mean, was up near 26 earlier in last week, found some pressure midweek, and then maybe started to reverse, held the 200-day moving average on Friday. I probably trades up near 26 this week. I'm not going to add any more strikes just yet, but still like this one for a move past 28 bucks in the coming weeks. And then DELL, I played the calls last week, was able to lock some in to cover costs, close the rest out on profits when the market found some weakness Thursday and Friday. I think this should be trading back up near its gap fill. 107, I think it's 107.75 from the end of February. So don't be surprised if I add some strikes there. And that's it, folks. Again, I'm not putting my bear suit on or bull horns on. I just think there's opportunities on both sides. And I think if we get up to 582 on a SPY, maybe there's another opportunity to play the puts. And the good thing is on these relief bounces, the premiums come out of the puts. So the put hedges are easy, less expensive, and then provide better risk reward if we do have some downside. That's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.